I think today I want to talk about nice guys, why they suck, and why are they are responsible for all the evil in the world. Now, when I say all the evil, I mean all of it. What do you mean? Like, how can a nice guy be evil? Well, let's define what a nice guy is. The nice guy is the guy who hangs around a girl while she screws all of his, asshole friends, and he just can't believe why would she choose them over me? And he's at her beck and call, and he does everything for her, and he's hoping that someday she'll see him for what he really is, and she'll pick him. And secretly, he resents the hell out of her, and he hates all of the guys that she dates, and he's secretly mad at the world. And guys like that, they're the same guys. They never say no. They act happy. When you ask them to do something, they're like, yeah, sure, I'll take care of it. And as soon as you turn your back, they're like, God damn, that fucking asshole. He only talks to me when he needs something. And, they never say no. They don't draw healthy boundaries. They're resentful. They're nihilistic. They're cynical. And they're also responsible for all the evil in the world. All these protesters, all these, well, I hate to use the term leftist. I don't want to make my channel political. But these guys that are against capitalism and they rail against personal responsibility, success, being your own man, building yourself up, they're the same people that want the government to control everything, and they want everything handed to them, and they feel like they're entitled. They're the incels that think that they should be entitled to the affections of women. You see these silly movements. They're nicest guys, the nicest people in the world when you talk to them, but they just have this undertone of just hatred and resentment. And they're the same people. They won't stand up for themselves, but they will stab you in the back the second they get the chance. Why? Because they don't know how to assert themselves. And they hate themselves for it, and they hate you because you're competent and you can assert yourself. They resent that. They resent everything that represents a strong, healthy male. And what they don't understand is that they have the power to change that. But instead, because they're nihilistic, because they're cynical, they hate the world and they want to burn it all down. Those are the guys that they're truly dangerous. This is why I think it's important for every guy to get punched in the face at least once. Really, you see this lip I got? And my nose is all messed up. I've had my nose broke 4 times. Well, that's not completely accurate. I had it really, really busted once, and then I had it separated a couple times to where it's, I can't breathe right. I've got a deviated septum. My lip, I could probably get that fixed, but I always forget about it until I see it in the camera. I've had guys ask me, why's your face all messed up? And I'm like, which part? I kind of wear it like a badge of honor, it's like, this boy can take a punch. When I was younger, when I was a young kid, I was the smallest kid in my class, and I used to get bullied, and I'm viciously bullied. I'm talking about beaten. I was severely beaten, but I had this thing where you could do whatever you want to me, but you'll never shut me up. It was the one thing that you couldn't take from me was my voice. So I would talk the worst shit possible. They called him Gonzo. Gonzalez was his last name. Mike Gonzalez. This dude was 3 times my size, and he used to beat the shit out of me. And then when he was done and he was walking away with his friends, right as where they got to the corner of the building, I would say something like, your mom's a whore, and then I'd start running, and he'd start chasing me again. Oh, man. I invited every one of those ass kickings because that was like all I had. That was the one thing you can't take from me is my voice. And if they were able to silence me, then they took the one freedom that I had. So I don't care. You could beat me, you could burn me, you could bury me alive, but you'll never shut me up. That was my thing. And, as I got older, I was angry, I was resentful, and that's why I joined the Marine Corps. I didn't do it for any other reason than I thought that would man me up. And it did, I got out of boot camp. I went in at 145 pounds. I came out at 170. And when I went home on leave that first time, I actually had a hit list. I had a hit list of people I was going to visit and just beat the shit out of. And I had all the confidence of a fresh recruit out of boot camp. What happened? Well, I found one of the guys. Now, it had been a few years since I've seen him. His name was Nick Paradotti. And he was like the cool kid in high school, and all the girls, the jock, whatever. And when I saw him, he was just pathetic. He was a fat slob, and he let himself go. His glory years were truly high school. And I felt kind of sad. I'd been carrying around all this hatred and resentment. And in that one moment, I realized just how foolish that was. And it, I was able to just forgive him and let it go. And instantly, this huge just weight came off of me. And I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know anything about psychology or any of that shit. I didn't realize that by forgiving him, I was healing myself. It had nothing to do with him. I mean, it's not like we're going to be friends and hang out. I don't even care if that guy lived or died. But I was no longer harboring all of that resentment and hatred, and I wasn't thinking about, I stopped thinking about all those guys. I just let it go. And it was really healing. But what does that have to do with, being punched in the face? Well, most guys, if you ever notice, the question I always get, being a Marine veteran, is, hey, did you ever kill anybody? They want to know if you were in combat, and if you weren't in combat, they kind of judge you What it is, I found over the years is, most people are untested. They think they know how they're going to react in an emergency situation, or a fight in the streets, or if they get mugged, or if they have to defend their loved ones. But they haven't been in that situation, so they don't know. That question remains unanswered. And they're really easy to pick out, because the worst case guys, those are the ones that have learned to come up with an act as a protective measure, because they are untested. They don't know if they can fight. They've developed this persona like a prickly, like an animal, like with quills. Or they want to look tough, so they act tough, and it usually manifests itself in this ridiculous, over-the-top bravado that most guys that have been in some kind of a situation can see right through, and it actually kind of comes off as pathetic. So you don't want to be that guy either. All of these, if you're a man that is untested, you've never been in an emergency situation, or a real fight, and you just don't know how you're going to react. You don't want to become that guy. So the best thing to do is to try to test yourself so that you will get that confidence. And I noticed that guys that do fight training, they go to the range, they practice with weapons, they do law enforcement type stuff, weapons training, that sort of thing. As we do these things that make us more competent, we become less and less aggressive, because you'll find, if you know how you're going to react in an emergency situation, it's almost like you carry yourself in a way where it's just, I don't know, it's hard to describe. Like, guys that have been in a lot of fights, it's been my observation that most of them don't carry themselves aggressively, because they know what a fight is, and they know how they're going to react, they know they're going to handle themselves, and they're not looking to get in that situation. As a matter of fact, most guys that know how to fight are usually trying to resolve those. They're usually conflict resolution people, because they don't want to get in that scenario. You got your overly aggressive dogs that are barking all the time. Yep, 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 yep. Because they're like, I'm scary, stay away from me. Bark, 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 bark. And then you got that quiet, confident guy in the corner who's just like these guys, and you see that guy, and you're like, yeah, there's something about him. You just know he can handle himself. And that's the sort of confidence that you will eventually manifest in yourself. You'll notice I'm wearing a different outfit, so I had to re-record the last segment I made, because it was picking up some noise from one of the vents in the car. And what I was saying was, we're talking about untested people and how they react in real life. You ever notice that guys that don't know how to fight, when they square up, they overreact. They don't know how, they flinch. When you you try to throw a punch on them, they'll flinch wildly, and they throw these haymakers where they put their bodies in really awkward positions because they are trying to not get hit. They're so afraid of that punch that they're basically combat ineffective. You know, anybody that has any kind of fight training, even the most minuscule where they know how to square up properly, they're going to whip that dude's ass. You play the way you practice. Think about like a grease fire in your kitchen. Now, if you have drilled, you know where the fire extinguisher is, and you've gone and gotten it a few times, and you know in your brain, like when that happens, when there's a fire in your kitchen, you're just going to automatically go get the fire extinguisher and you put it up. But if you've never even thought about where the hell that thing is, in a situation, 9 times out of 10, you're not even going to think about the fire extinguisher, and you're going to throw the first thing on it. And what always happens? People chuck water on it. The sink's right there. They'll dump a bunch of water, and boom, now the next thing you know, your house is burned down. Good job. Any emergency situation. So I do a lot of incident command at work, and we deal with injuries. And some of them are horrific injuries. I've dealt with a lot of injuries in construction, and I am incident commander. So what happens is, it's my job to ensure that upon the call, somebody gets a call at work that there's an injury. The first thing I get is the location, and I ask if emergency needs to be dispatched. And if the answer is yes, I delegate that. So right away, you call 911, you get there, and then I call security and say, we got emergency services, you got to guide them in. Next thing I do is I get the on-site medic to respond to whoever that is. Before I've even left, I've made 4 or 5 phone calls to make sure that all the proper people have been delegated so that we can get a quick emergency response. That could be a life or death. When that ambulance shows up, I want all the traffic out of the way. I want personnel. I don't want anybody in his way that could stop him. And I want him to be immediately guided to the location where the guy's injured. And that's all that's done before I've even gotten in my cart to go drive to see what's going on. I'm the safety guy. I want the EMT there. You know, I want to make sure that he's been dispatched. And we've had guys fall off the building. We've had guys get fingers severed. We've had guys take shrapnel to the face from discs exploding on peanut grinders. We've had guys impact themselves, inject themselves with from sandblasters. Oh, that's a nasty injury. I mean, we're talking traumatic, bleeding out, you're going to die in minutes injuries. We've had guys that have had heart attacks. The bottom line is, if I didn't practice that, if I didn't drill that daily, and I wasn't trained on how to do that, it could take precious minutes. The last thing you want in an emergency situation is somebody that's freaking out and he doesn't know what to do, and it takes 10 more minutes, 5 more minutes, 30 more seconds to get an emergency services on site and somebody dies because of your incompetence. So that's what I'm talking about. You practice the way you play, and that's the same thing that goes with fighting. Say you are untested, you don't know how you're going to react. You want to put yourself in a situation, maybe sparring with somebody, maybe taking some Muay Thai classes, maybe grappling. A lot of guys in Vegas, there's tons of MMA gyms. You go sign up for one, take some boxing lessons. You put yourself in harm's way. You'll have a coach that'll help you through that. You teach you how to take a punch and how to properly defend yourself. And then you'll start carrying yourself in a way that's more competent. You won't even know it. Do you remember before you started lifting, before you ever picked a weight up, most of us, we went to the gym because we had no self-confidence. And as soon as you started putting a little muscle on, people start treating you different. They talk to you differently. They interact with you in a way that's more respectful. Guys that normally would be the type that would pick on you, they're now having second thoughts about it. You just have this more imposing look. But now you want to take it to the next level, and you actually want to be imposing, because you could train and get as strong as you want, but if you don't know how to fight, you still have that unanswered question. You don't know how you're going to react in that situation. And what if you do have to defend your loved ones? What if you are walking down the street and someone tries to mug you? Like, how are you going to react in that situation? Are you going to freak out? Or are you going to be able to stand your ground? Maybe you want to at least have the presence of mind to make smart decisions. And if that might be just handing your wallet over to the guy and walking away. If you don't have the presence of mind to be there in that situation where you can make choices without your lizard brain taking over, what good are you? 9 times out of 10 in any kind of conflict where it might hurt me or somebody I care about, I am always looking for the way out. I'm looking for the escape. But if I'm freaking out and I can't think on my feet in that situation, I can't make those decisions. And that's really what it's all about. It's all about building self-confidence so that we can become leaders. We can become strong men. Not all of us are meant to do management. Not all of us are meant to be in charge of other men. But there's a hierarchy in that team, and there's people that are supposed to follow the leads of others, and they still want to be good mentors. They still want to be competent at what they do, and they still want to carry themselves with professionalism and be able to interact with other people in a way that you look someone in the eye when you talk to them, and they look at you back because they respect you as a man. We have an aura about us, and people that the nice guy just doesn't have it. He is a doormat, and people walk all over him, and he does it with a smile on his face. And he thinks, everybody likes me. I'm the nicest guy in the world. But he secretly resents it because every Saturday, Friday, the boss says, hey, I need you to work tomorrow. And he had plans with his wife, and he can't say no because he thinks he's going to, get fired? I don't know. I don't know what makes these guys the way they are. They can't draw healthy boundaries. They never take time for themselves. They're always sacrificing themselves for others, and they're fucking martyrs. They act like that's the cross they die on, like they're doing something great for society. Look at me. I'm selfless. I give. No, you're a bitch. That's what you are. If you have the ability to say no and you choose to say yes, that is a virtue. If you are a dangerous man and you have the ability to hurt somebody, but you choose kindness, that is a virtue. You can't be virtuous if you don't possess something. You can't transmit something you don't have. If you haven't received it, how are you going to transmit it? Really, that's what it's all about, guys. It's just about, we want to build ourselves up and we want to evolve into competent, assertive leaders and strong men so that we can foster our communities and our families and our loved ones, and we can protect the things around us. That's what it's all about. We are headed into unknown territory where the world could be, as we know it, could be coming to an end. There's a very real chance that the economy will fail, and it's going to, from the top down to the bottom, change the way we interact with each other. And if we're truly following the path of the Soviet Union and China and what happened to them with the cultural revolutions, the biggest thing is we have to be able to stand up for ourselves and come together as communities so that we are the bulwarks against that rising tide of bullshit that's going to take your freedoms and your loved ones and your way of life from you. And this is what I'll say is, like, I'm going to stand against it, and if I'm the lone voice, I'll die on that cross. And I hope to God I have strong men standing next to me that are willing to face it, and we'll do it together.